come to the edge of your seat. I like to come so far that my arms kind of dangle to my sides. You could also gently rest your hands in your lap, feet flat on the floor, and close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, just look past the video. Don't watch me to something a little maybe boring on the wall. Start to notice your breath. Start to notice your posture. We're not attempting to make the posture perfect right now. We want to know what is. So as you sit here, just notice how your face feels, how your breath feels, how the weight on your chair feels. Does it feel even, heavy, pulled away? Checking in with the feet on the floor. Do you feel grounded? Do they feel tight? Coming back to the breath. Notice as you inhale, there might be a part of you that expands. Or when you exhale, there might be a part of you that collapses. You may feel no breath entering and exiting your body at all. Just notice what's there. The first movement you're going to do is called the arch and slouch. We're going to start with the slouching, and you can approach this one of two ways. I'll teach both. The first way is I want you to bring your awareness to your sternum or solar plexus, whichever you connect to most. Sternum's the breastplate. Solar plexus is the soft spot, right underneath where the ribs meet in the front center. And what I'd like for you to do is very gently sink that part of you towards your back or toward the back of your chair. And as you do that, you might start to feel your shoulders start to slouch forward. Your chin may come up toward the ceiling, or your head might come down towards your lap. Whichever one feels most natural and like the easiest route into the slouch, go ahead and do that. And once you're in that slouch position, just feel what that's like. Does this remind you of anything? How does it feel to breathe in this position? Notice the tension of the chest, the shoulders, the belly, the face. And then when you're ready, like you're being buoyed by water filling the room, or maybe you're getting filled with air, instead of pulling through your back, what I want you to do is very gently float, opening the front, floating back up, and getting yourself positioned in a neutral, tall posture. We want it to be easy though, so we're not pulling our shoulders back or doing anything actively contracted. What we're really looking for is neutrality, so an evenness between the front and the back. Once you've floated all the way back to whatever your body says is a tall neutral, my invitation now is that same spot, the sternum or solar plexus, whichever you connect to most. This time, gently pull it forward. So you'll be gently arching your back. Everything is done softly in this practice. You might notice that the space between your pelvis and your thighs shortens. Whatever happens with your head, just notice what happens. Maybe you're looking up. Maybe you're tucking your chin. Notice the shortness in the back and the softness and opening in the front. And then very slowly, very smoothly, without any help from the front, gently float back to neutral, where your spine feels like it's not slouching or arching in either direction. Notice if your pelvis has adjusted and shifted. If you need to adjust and shift, please do so. Take a deep breath. Now, another way to do the slouch is to actually just crumble into a slouch. Find the easiest route for you. That being said, finding the route that feels like your natural slouch. If you didn't have to hold yourself up right now, how would you crumble into a slouch? You might go to the right or the left or down the center. Go ahead and find it. I'm going to move my head around to find the best spot for my head. And then once you've found whatever slouching is present in your body, just feel what that feels like. Maybe one side of your waist is shorter than the other. Maybe your head is tilting. Maybe one shoulder is higher or lower than the other. Soften into this posture, softening the face, the neck, the belly, whatever you can that's extra. I'm noticing tension in my hips and knees. I'm going to soften that. And then, like you're being buoyed by water, float all the way back, taking as much time as you need. Coming back to your neutral seated position. I'm going to have to adjust once again. Do as much adjusting as you need. Take a breath when you get back to the top, and then very gently from the sternum solar plexus, arching. This time in your arch, what I want you to notice is that your chin is going to come down towards your neck, and the neck in the back is going to get really long, like the crown of your head is getting pulled toward the ceiling. You might feel like a soldier standing at attention when you do this posture. Notice your shoulders gently moving back toward the wall behind you. Soften in the face, soften in the belly and in the hip flexors, and then gently float yourself back to neutral. You might notice your pelvis rocking and opening in the hip flexors. Bring the head back to neutral and the spine back to neutral. Soften anything that you feel is holding tension now. And then we'll do one more slouch and one more arch. So whichever slouch resonated most with you is the one I want you to do. Go ahead, either bringing the solar plexus back toward your spine, or you're just crumbling. Your crumble may be different each time. Notice how it feels. Soften in the face, soften in the legs if you can. Notice how that feels, and then floating back up. We're not going to pull with the back. We're imagining the front of us opening up and floating toward a neutral position. Softening in the legs, the hip flexors, the front side of your body, and taking a deep breath. And then our final move of the arch and slouch, very gently rocking the pelvis forward, shortening the space between the pelvis and the hip flexors. The chest and the sternum come forward. The neck gets long, the chin tucks, shoulders come back. Try to be soft and gentle about this. Do about 50% your effort or less. Notice how that posture feels. Soften everywhere that's unnecessary to have tension. face, hands, feet, knees, belly. And then gently float your spine back, coming to neutral. Taking a deep breath, finding that tall neutral, and just checking in. Your sit bones and your tailbone feel like they are in contact with your chair. Your belly doesn't feel like it's protruding forward or sinking back. Same with your spine. They feel even on both sides. Same with the two sides of your waistline. And then also, and this one's a little tricky for me, checking in with the chest and the upper back. If you have an upper back that likes to work a whole lot, you might feel that it's still trying to hold you up. See if you could soften that. And then checking in with the head. Does it feel like your nose is centered with your sternum? Does it feel like one ear maybe is closer to your shoulder than the other? Or maybe you're kind of turned and down or up. Whatever's there, see if you can find center. Even you could take your finger and draw a line from your nose down to your sternum, even. Now feel how everything feels. And we're going to bring our awareness to our shoulders. And when you're ready, 20 to 50% your effort. I don't want this to be a big movement. Very gently shrug your shoulders towards your ears. You might notice a slouch coming on when you do this. You might notice an arch. You might notice the back of your neck shortens. Whatever's there, just notice it. For me, my belly gets tighter. My face gets tighter. My breath gets shorter. Notice how this feels. And then very slowly allow your shoulders to melt down. We're not going to pull them from below. We're going to allow them to melt all the way down and rest on the ribs. You might have noticed some jumpy, jerky, shaky along the way. That's called sensory motor amnesia. That's just where your brain has lost full control and contact with that group of muscles. So, when you're ready, we'll do it again. Very gently, shrugging your shoulders towards your ears. This time while you're up there, I want you to notice your pelvis and see if you can get back into that neutral position of the pelvis and the spine. Notice the muscles of the face, the muscles of the armpits and the ribs and the waist. Could anything here soften and you could still hold your shoulders up? Notice how that feels, and then very slowly allow your shoulders to melt back down. We're going as slow as we can and smoothing out any jumpy, jerky, shaky, any big drops. If you have big drops coming in, you might want to like rewind a little bit, right? So if you feel a big like ka-chunk, you may want to pause, rewind over that big space, that big black hole there, and then very slowly try it again. Take a deep breath. Soften in the face, soften in the belly, soften in the jaw. And let's shrug the shoulders up toward the ears. Now we're going to try to be really soft in the chest and in the back and in the sides and in the hip flexors and in the feet and in the face. Invite everything that you can to soften, but keep your shoulders towards your ears. Even in your neck maybe, right? And then very slowly melt the shoulders away from the ears. No pulling, just melting. Notice if they don't keep up with each other. I've noticed all 3 times that my left shoulder kind of finished after my right. Now you can certainly do one shoulder at a time, lifting a shoulder. You can try it on now if you like, and then allowing it to float back down. When you lift one shoulder at a time, and I'm just going to do one on each side here, and you can go at your own pace. When you do one shoulder at a time, notice what your other shoulder does. You'll notice that one side lengthens and the other side shortens. You might even notice your head tilts. And just allow the melting to be slow and patient and non-ambitious. Be sure to finish with both shoulders toward the ears one last time if you do one shoulder at a time. Take a moment between your shoulder shrugs and the next movement to just sense, notice, and feel how you're feeling now. Find that neutral if you've gotten out of it, and it's totally fine if you have. And now we'll bring our awareness to our head. Now, when we turn our heads, we only want to turn them as far as it's truly easy to do so. Follow your nose and see what kind of line you draw to the right and to the left. So very slowly, the slower you go, the more information you'll get. Start to turn your head toward the right. Notice if you draw a straight line and only go as far as it's incredibly easy. The moment you feel like you need to push or pull, that will be your range of motion. Keep soft in the face, in the jaw, in the neck, in the back, in the belly. Notice what's there. Notice how it feels to turn your head to this direction. And then we'll very slowly draw that line with our nose. Keep softening in the flexors, in the legs, in the belly and back. And we'll go to the other direction. Only go as far as it's truly easy. You might notice that there is a big difference between one side and the other. Notice what's there and soften. And then very slowly come back to center. See if your mind can find center. Sometimes I take my finger and just swipe it down my nose and toward my sternum. My head, for me, tends to be a little off center, so I'll do the extra check. Feel free to turn your head from side to side as many times as you like. I usually do anywhere from 3 to 5. Just noticing what tension comes up as you do this. Check in on your eyes, your groin, your breath. If you're holding your breath, that's tension. When you hit a barrier, as you turn side to side, slowly at your own observational pace, soften and see if there might be a little more space. But take that moment to stop and soften. I'm turning my head now to the right for the 3rd time. As you do your own very slow practice, I do not want my cueing to rush you. But keep noticing as you turn your head, what else you could soften. In seated position, groin is a very good place to continue to come back to. Keep softening in the belly. Keep seeing if that slouch or that arch is coming in. We started with that so that your brain would notice it if it comes online. And then whichever side you're on, go ahead and very slowly start to bring your head back to center. Take a breath. Now, let's tilt our chin toward our chest. So we're going to lengthen the back of the neck. Only go as far as it's easy. We're not stretching the back of the neck. We're just looking down. Notice how that feels. Notice if your back starts to round here. And then drawing a straight line with your nose up. Tilting your head back towards center, moving through neutral. And tilting the head back. Only go as far as it's truly easy. Notice how that feels. See if you can soften. You might notice that you are slouching more here or arching more here. Keep softening everything around this. And then as you bring your nose back down, you might notice the arching or the slouching coming back to neutral along with the head. If that's not happening, go ahead and just bring your body back to neutral. And then at your own slow observational pace, draw the nose down and up. Notice if your eyes want to do anything here. Your eyes may want to look up as you bring your head up. They may want to look down as you bring your head down. See if you can keep your eyes soft. Drawing as straight of a line as we can. Now in the vertical. Feeling the front side of the neck and the back side of the neck toggle. One getting shorter as the other gets longer. Keep softening in the belly, softening in the groin, softening in the backs of the knees. As you draw your straight line up and down, slowly, smoothly, and softly. Only going as far as it's truly easy. Again, we're not looking for a stretch. We're looking for ease. We're looking for as little work in the muscles as possible. The easiest route. Keep softening, checking in the hands, the feet, the breath. And then wherever you are, finish that exploration and come back to center. Finding center with your nose. And then the last head movement for this practice, and there are many head movements, for this practice today, for these purposes, we're going to tilt our ears toward our shoulder. Now this one be very gentle with. This can be very sticky. Start on whatever side you like, whatever side your nervous system chooses. And only like 20% your effort, tilt your ear towards your shoulder. Notice the opening on one side and the shortening on the other. Before you tilt back to center, I want you to feel into the short side. And just like how we did with the slouch, I want you to imagine it floating up, not like the other side is pulling. So very gently allow the shortened side of your neck to float open and bring your head back to upright. Take a breath at the top. Soften in the chest, soften in the belly. Notice if anything comes up for you. And then gently tilt your ear to the other direction. Now, I have a lot of stuckness in this movement here, so I'm only going to go about a half an inch to this direction. We're going to open on one side and shorten on the other. Take a moment to notice what comes up in your body and soften it. And then very slowly allow the shortened side to expand and open. Take a breath. Any adjusting, any movement you need to do, always allow yourself to do it. And now we're going to draw a little rainbow shape with our nose. Only going as far as it's easy. Ear coming to one shoulder. Notice the softening in your belly and your back. Head will float up. And we'll gently tilt toward the other side, only going as far as it's very easy. And just keep going side to side here. Continuing to invite your body to stay soft. In seated, particularly and especially the groin and the belly, right? Because we're shortened in that area, but we don't need to be tense. There is a distinct difference between having short muscles and having tense muscles. Then whenever you're ready, go ahead and finish the move you're on. Come back to center, take a deep breath. And And I'm going to end us on a gentle shoulder shrug one final time. Whenever you're ready, gently bring your shoulders towards your ears. Soften in the armpits, the groin, the belly, the back, the face. And then as slowly as you can, allow the shoulders to melt. Coming all the way back. And resting on the rib cage, no pulling from below. And now take a moment just to sense, notice, and feel your posture, your overall sense of yourself. Slowly open your eyes. No need to come back to the screen though. Bring your hands to your chest and very gently rotate your shoulders to one direction. You could even look over your shoulder if you like. Soften in the hips and the belly, looking around, and then rotate through the waistline again, turning and looking over this shoulder, and then coming back to center. Take a deep breath. Have an awesome trip.